Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Michael, sometimes I don't know how to feel about him. And I think that's just how it is with soap operas. I know I got a comment maybe about a week ago or so saying that I couldn't, no, that I hated Sam. And I think with these soap operas, there's characters that you can love and they'll still piss you off from time to time. Michael is very back and forth for me. There's times where I really do like Michael, and then there's times like today that he just pisses me off. Um, coming at Chase talking about, oh, you made Willow feel guilty about everything, and you didn't even bother to sit there and ask if you were the father of the child. And it was like, bro, so let me get this straight. You're gonna sit there and come at him sideways about a child that he didn't even know that existed, a child that he didn't even know that was his? Like, you're literally making no sense. Um, I guess he was sitting there feeling that way because, he was sitting there trying to defend Willow because Willow was feeling some sort of way. But to be honest, I was like, yo, Willow, you, you can kick rocks with your feelings, to be honest, because you've been lying to that, you were lying to that man for months about this whole thing with Chase. And yeah, I know that, they only went on one date. It wasn't that serious. They weren't married. They never said that they were in a committed relationship. But she was still going behind his back, and she knew what she was doing was wrong. So this whole attitude of, oh, you're the father of the baby, and whatever crap that she got going on, whatever type of feelings that she has going on, I personally don't give a damn because she was lying to this man for months. So to be honest, I really don't care. Um, But then she went out at Brooklyn also, and it seemed like it was kind of getting heated. So Chase is like, you know what? I'm just gonna go upstairs. I'm gonna sit there and take care of Bailey. Y'all can just stew in whatever crappy y'all got going on. But Willow, trying to be the mature one, is like, our children are close in age, so for their sake, let's just sit there and try to keep it civil and try to move on. Now, with that being said, they kind of all split up, and Willow was sitting there hoping that, you know, if you can sit there and let this whole thing go, maybe you can let the whole, maybe you can sit there and forgive Brad. And I'm like, forgive? It's kind of a strong word. Maybe you can kind of cool it down a little bit, knowing why, as far as, Miss Wu and how, she's related to Brad and, going in that whole, room for his trial or whatever. I just feel like, exactly what Carly says, like he needs to kind of, chill out a little bit. I get that he wants him to serve his the full time or whatever, but for Sonny and his ally and just to kind of make sure everything is running smooth, maybe you can sit there and dial that down a little bit. Especially now that Jason isn't there. And this is something else that I was just like, what is going on? I mean, by the way, Mrs. Wu must have came to that place like a couple of different times, and I'm like, the first time she was there, it was like, okay, all right, just it's a new day, whatever, fine. But then she came back, and Carly was like, oh, you're back. I'm like, what? What are you doing back here? Um, Now, before I think Carly left to go do something, and Miss Wu came by, and she was meant to talk about Jason as far as like maybe you should find a replacement for Jason as an enforcer. Okay, find a replacement for Jason as an enforcer. That's it. So when she leaves and Carly's like, what did y'all talk about? He's like, Mrs. Wu sit there and think it's a good idea that, I find a way to replace Jason. And we get into this whole side conversation that was just like, what? I mean, this is coming down to Carly's like, you can never replace him. He was like a brother to you. You know, he was my best friend, this, that, and the third, and we're gonna, he's just irreplaceable, and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, how did you, what path was you going at? I don't understand how we just went left that fast. All she was sitting there saying was find somebody to, and hell, granted, even, Carly was like, you know, you can have another guy sit there and follow your orders and, do your bidding or whatever, but you can't find someone. But that's what we were talking about. All this other stuff is completely unnecessary. Especially for the people, and granted, I get it that they have to sit there and kind of rehash some of this stuff for new people. But for the people who've been watching it for a while, it's like, yeah, we already know what Jason means to y'all. Because you kind of tell us every day. And even if they don't sit there and convey that message, we're not stupid. We can see the love, the respect, the everything that they have for Jason. So all this side stuff, like all this stuff that just went left, was just I don't even know how they just got that confused. I'm lost for words at that point. Um, the first or the second time that she came, to Carly's place, well, to the Metro Court or whatever, I thought she was also going to sit there and say, hey, you think you can get Michael kind of like back down a little bit? Like I get that he has his issues and I don't blame him, but for my nephew's, sake, just, getting out faster, maybe, he can kind of just, get your son to back down a little bit. But I mean, they seem like they were committed on letting Michael, speak his piece. So, okay. And, I look at this whole thing with Brad and what he did. Listen, it was wrong. Point blank, it was wrong. He definitely deserves to go to jail. And I can understand why Michael doesn't like him. I mean, like, as far as, like, what he did. It was wrong. And then I sit there and I try to look at it from Brad's point of view. He literally just lost a child. That night, he was in pain. He was in grief. He didn't know how to begin to tell Lucas that their child died. I mean, even saying that, just like, ugh. Julian came in and kind of put these ideas into his. I mean, granted, whatever he put into his head, it's not like he wasn't sitting there understanding it. Julian did kind of say, "Hey, listen, it's just gonna be me and you that know. Do this to make my son happy," and he just kind of went along with the plan. And time passed, and after a while, it was like, you couldn't go back. And then they kept sitting there convincing him that child was better off with Brad than with Sonny and his family. Because of Michael, because of Morgan. And I'll be honest, I can't sit there and say that, they're not entirely wrong. They're not. And maybe he just kind of used that as an excuse, but regardless, they weren't wrong. I mean, especially I think Britt knew, right? I think Britt knew. But the point is, that's what she said, and she ain't wrong. So it's not exactly as black and white as Michael or his family's making it seem. Like, yeah, it was wrong, but there's a gray area to it. So, Lucy was there to sit there and keep Sasha company, distract her, because Sasha's worried about, her child. And, they started talking about cosmetics at one point. That wasn't working. And then Lucy starts sharing some of, what she been through. which was sad. Okay? It was sad. The thing that I guess I kind of find a little bit interesting is that they're, with this show and Poor Charles, it's like they're deciding on what stuff they're gonna keep and what stuff they're not gonna keep. Um, I think there was one point they had a kid there that passed away, and Patrick had to sit there and save his life. And somebody was not to tell me that, I don't know what the theory was, but one person was not to tell me that, like, the theory was, as far as Poor Charles was concerned, was that it was a book that Lucy wrote. Like, it just didn't exist or anything like that. I don't know, but the reason why I'm Snither saying that is because she was Snither sharing some stuff that happened with her and, Scott and her daughter Serena, which, she was a surrogate for. And that stuff, I'm pretty sure might have happened in Port Charles. I don't think it happened in this show, but honestly, to tell you the truth, I'm not even too sure. So, I think at this point, just kind of take what I say with a grain of salt, because I only jumped on the Poor Charles wagon like maybe a few years before it ended. So I have no idea what stuff is from Poor Charles and what stuff is from General Hospital. But with that being said, it did work. It did get her mind off of it. Meanwhile, Brando's at the chapel, praying for his son to, pull through. And TJ sees it, sees him and everything like that. And, just kind of talk to him and, I guess kind of bond with him, Which is good. They seem like they're in a better place now. And I'm going to be honest, like, I'm glad, because that whole, them being angry with each other, TJ forgiving Molly in like less than 24 hours, but he was so quick to attack Brando. I'm so glad they are past that, because that whole thing was, well, it was an S show. But they bonded, and, it was just a nice scene. Britt is still pissed off at Nina for her not turning Peter in to the cops. She didn't know the whole story Nina told her. She was still mad. But then after a while, I don't know if this was for plot reasons or just because, she's a different person now. But, she kind of realized that, her brother wouldn't want that. What happened happened, and it's just kind of best to move on and move forward and help our family. Because they can't really go back and change the mistakes that they already done. So, I guess they're in somewhat of a better place now. Now, Peter is paranoid as hell, and I was loving every single minute of it. Oh my goodness. He had a visitor. He was like, hey, who is it? Because they're not supposed to see me without like bulletproof like shielding, and like, nah, I don't. He was that petrol. And it was Anna. And Anna pretty much was like, listen, I will do whatever I can to help you. Because, Peter was like, oh, Sonny's trying to kill me. I got to sit there and practically look everywhere like he's just really paranoid. And Anna's like, listen, I'll help you out. But you got to do something for me. One, you got to give over your rights to your child. Two, you got to sit there and spill the beans on everything that you've done. And if you do all that, then I will sit there and help you out and protect you. And also told him that, most likely Sonny isn't going to do anything. He came back. He has a feud with you. He does anything, it's his ass. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense for him to come at you. Peter says no, because, he's Peter. And, he says no. And is like, you're not really giving much work with. She walks out. And some guard come, well, not a guard, but an inmate come in and gives him his food, and he's like, "No, I don't want it. I'm good." But after a while, I don't know. I guess maybe it's just a hunger, or Anna kind of relieving his stress a little bit by what she said. He's like, "All right, fine. I'll have it." So he starts eating. At this point, we already know what's gonna wind up happening. Um, he starts choking. And he's on the ground choking for dear life. Now the person that was carrying the tray walks away. Is Brad. So I'm assuming that Mrs. Wu got Brad to sit there and take out Peter. Because, I don't know how she's going to really do it. And I guess it would make sense to then use, the hell is his name? Brad, then sit there and try to get somebody else. So now I'm wondering, is Peter actually going to be dead this time? Like, is he going to be like dead? Not like in the freezer, after practically almost having like a hole in his head from being like, knocked down a flight of steps and just walking out looking fresh to death. Like, is he actually going to be like dead this time, or like what's going on? It was funny too. I was at work, and whenever somebody picks up a Soap Opera Digest, I always gotta sit there and comment. Cause first of all, I like to sit there and comment, be like, oh, you watch this show, whatever. Who's your favorite character? And I always like to sit there and see their reaction whenever I tell them something about the show, cause they look at me like I'm an alien or something. And I gotta sit there and I was like, some guys do actually watch like soap operas. I know it's a foreign concept. I get it. Me personally, I like to watch a lot of different things. We were just talking about Peter, and she was like, "Oh, I hope he's dead this time. He's just so bad." I was like, "Yes, I know, but that's what makes the show so good." But I am wondering, is it gonna be Peter's swan song? Like, is it gonna be like the end, or is he just gonna be poisoned or like in a coma or something like that? Like, I don't know. In some ways, I feel like, here's the thing. I feel like if they don't kill him off, like if they don't actually kill him off, I don't know what they're doing. I guess point number one, I just, with these characters sometimes, it's like you ever know back in like the 90s, early 2000s, whenever they would kill off a character, let's say One Life to Live, one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite two characters, Colin, Ty Treadway. They killed them off. And what did they do? They bring him back as a twin. General Hospital. They kill off Alcazar. And then they just bring back a twin. So I'm just wondering, like, are they actually going to kill him off? Because, I mean, just look at this in general. Like, Peter, love him or hate him, he definitely does shake things up. He's definitely a really good villain. So to kill him off would be killing off the suspense, and it's like, you need somebody that's just like really bad, like a really good villain. So it's like, are they gonna kill him off? And if they do they have something better planned? Because if not, this is where we start to run into problems. And this show doesn't really need more issues between the behind the scenes drama with, I don't know, Steve, Ingo, Nancy, Kimberly, even though I know she's not on the show. It's like, we need this show to be at top notch right here. Like, we can't, no, let's. Oh yeah, Maxie was there. She didn't really do too much of anything, but she was there, so that's cool. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of would have probably kicked myself a little bit, if I would have forgotten Maxie being in this episode. And I'm pretty sure she probably did something. It's just maybe something that I can't remember, so maybe it's not that memorable. Or maybe it is two people who like Maxine. On a side note, I still can't believe that she was on Days of Our Lives being Bella. And during that time, we had another Maxie. Sometimes I like to watch old clips of GH. So, like, watching, like, Dylan, like, the old Maxie was like. Watching the new Maxie come in there was like a breath of fresh air. I don't think the old one was bad, but it was like. Wow. I don't know. I'm gonna check something. I don't know. I feel like that's about it, but I also feel like I missed something. So if I did, write it down in the comment section below. Just want to thank everyone for watching. I know I always sit there and say thank you for watching, be safe, outro, whatever, but I really do thank everyone for watching and commenting and stuff like that. And, I always sit there and try to get back to comments that I see whenever YouTube decides that they don't want to just sit there and pluck them out of the sky. I definitely do sit there and try to read the comments. So I want to thank everyone for just dealing with that. And just commenting in general. So yes, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I hope everyone has a great, safe weekend. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.